Niccolò Machiavelli never once begged to be loved. He wrote the one line every weak person fears: it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Watch the room right now. Someone is smiling too hard. Someone is agreeing with everything said. Someone is checking their phone every 10 seconds, waiting on a text back. That person just told the entire world they are available for free. Machiavelli watched courts for a living. He watched who survived exile, who got poisoned at dinner, and who got quietly erased from history. And he found the same brutal pattern every single time. The ones who begged for approval got used. The ones who controlled their own image got obeyed. This is not a self-help video. This is a manual on power, written 500 years ago in a freezing exile, and it still runs your life today whether you know it or not. Stay until the end, because chapter 14 is the one line that changes how people treat you forever. Chapter 1, Stop Giving Your Power Away for Free. Machiavelli spent his exile writing about princes, but he was really writing about you. Every day, ordinary people hand over their power without a fight. They shrink their opinions to keep the peace. They swallow disrespect so nobody gets uncomfortable. They pour their best hours into people who forgot their name by morning. Then they wonder why nobody fears losing them. Machiavelli understood something brutal. A ruler is judged by the impression he creates, not the goodness he privately possesses. The same law governs you. Every time you shrink yourself to be liked, you are teaching the room exactly how cheap you are. And rooms learn fast. Picture two rulers entering a city gate. One arrives apologizing for taking up space, explaining himself before anyone even asked. The other arrives like the city should be grateful he bothered to come. Nobody remembers the apologetic one. History barely writes his name. This is not about cruelty. Machiavelli never asked you to become a tyrant, and neither am I. He asked you to stop being a doormat wearing a smile, mistaking submission for peace. Self-command comes first. Before any court will respect you, you must stop begging your own reflection for permission to exist as you are. Machiavelli's law is simple. Authority is rented to those who beg for it, and owned by those who don't. Notice where you're leaking power today. Every unguarded yes. Every silence when you should have spoken up, that's a small surrender. Small surrenders build empires, just never yours. Think about the last time you agreed to something you didn't want, just to avoid an awkward silence. That single moment felt small. It wasn't. Machiavelli would call it a treaty signed under duress, one you negotiated against yourself and lost. He never advised his princes to fight every battle loudly. He advised them to stop losing quiet ones by default. Most people don't lose their power in one dramatic collapse. They lose it in 100 unnoticed concessions, each one too small to fight over, until one day the throne is empty and they can't explain how it happened. Chapter 2, Kill Your Hunger for Applause. Machiavelli watched Italian princes lose entire territories chasing popularity. Popularity is a mood. It changes by morning, by rumor, by whoever spoke to the crowd last. He wrote that a wise ruler builds on something more permanent than affection, because the crowd is loyal only as long as loyalty costs them nothing. Translate that into your own life. The friends who like your posts, the co-workers who nod along in meetings, the strangers whose opinion somehow controls your entire mood, none of them are stable ground. They are weather, not foundation. Machiavelli didn't crave approval. He studied it, weaponized it, and never once depended on it to sleep at night. That's the shift you need to make. Every time your confidence rises because someone praised you, and collapses the second someone ignores you, you have handed the crown of your own kingdom to a total stranger, one who didn't even ask for it. Machiavelli's rulers who lasted decades were the ones who could absorb an insult at dinner and still eat dessert like nothing happened. Approval is a weapon others hold against you the moment you need it too badly. Stop needing it. Study it instead. Notice who praises you and why. Notice what they gain from your comfort, your silence, your compliance. That's strategy, not paranoia. The prince who requires no applause cannot be manipulated by its absence, and that alone makes him nearly impossible to control. Chapter 3. Rule your own standards. Like a territory, Machiavelli believed a ruler who tolerates disorder inside his own borders will eventually lose those borders entirely. Your standards are your borders. Every time you accept lateness, disrespect, broken promises, or half-hearted effort, you're letting an invading force set up permanent camp inside your kingdom and calling it kindness so it hurts less. He wrote that fortune favors the bold, but before boldness comes discipline. A ruler must first govern himself before he can govern anything else. Most people have goals. Very few have standards. A goal is a wish for tomorrow. A standard is a law you enforce today, with zero exceptions, regardless of who's watching or how uncomfortable it makes them. The prince who says yes just to keep the peace loses the war for respect, one small surrender at a time. Say no, not cruelly. Strategically, every unnecessary yes is a quiet tax on your own throne. People will resist your new borders. Machiavelli expected resistance. He called it the natural cost of every real change. Those who profited from your old, undefended territory will not celebrate your new fortress walls going up. Let them leave anyway. A prince beloved by everyone has usually surrendered something to everyone. Chapter 4. Guard your time like a fortress. Machiavelli warned that an open, undefended city invites every passing army to walk straight through it uncontested. Your calendar is that city. If anyone can access your hours with zero resistance, your time carries no perceived value, not to them, and eventually not even to you. He believed real strength comes from fortifications built long before the war begins, not scrambled together mid-siege while the gates are already breached. Build your fortifications now. Pause before every yes. Ask whether this request deserves entry into your walls, or if it's just another army testing how weak your gates really are. Machiavelli's princes rarely fell to one great battle. They were worn down slowly by 1,000 small intrusions they never bothered to block. Boundaries are not walls that isolate a ruler. They are gates that decide who is worthy of entering. When your presence stops being free, it stops being taken for granted. Chapter 5. Build your own army. First, Machiavelli was blunt about mercenary armies. Borrowed strength always betrays you eventually, usually at the worst possible moment. If your confidence depends entirely on other people's opinions, you are fighting every battle with a rented army. It deserts you the instant the fight gets expensive. Build your own forces instead. Skill, discipline, knowledge, a trained, sharpened mind. These soldiers don't quit when the room goes quiet or the applause stops. Every hour you invest into your own competence adds a permanent soldier to your legion, one that never demands to be paid in praise. Machiavelli respected princes who trained their own militia over those who rented foreign swords. Because self-built strength cannot be bribed away by your enemies, no matter what they offer. The same is true of your self-worth. Build it from your own labor, and no one can rent it out from under you when it matters most. You do not need the world's permission to become dangerous. Chapter 6. Never let them smell desperation. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is a woman who favors the bold and punishes the timid, but there's a second half rarely quoted. She despises hesitation even more than boldness gone wrong. Desperation is the scent every predator in the room detects instantly. It lives in your rushed reply, your over-explaining, your compulsive need to fill silence with justification nobody asked for. The prince who needs the alliance too badly gets exploited in the terms of the treaty. The one who can walk away calmly gets the better deal. Every single time. Detach from the outcome. Want it fiercely. Never need it publicly. Machiavelli didn't chase Florence's favor after his exile. He wrote the prince as if power itself would eventually have to come find him, hat in hand. Scarcity is not manufactured. It's the natural result of a mind that has somewhere else to be. Watch how negotiations actually work. The side that can leave the table always writes the terms. The side that can't afford to leave signs whatever is put in front of them, smiling the whole time to hide the panic. Machiavelli studied treaties for a living, and he noticed the same pattern in every one. Desperation doesn't just lose the negotiation, it loses the relationship entirely. Because respect cannot survive the discovery that you had no other options. Chapter 7. Master your own emotions. Before anyone else's, Machiavelli's princes who survived plots and betrayals shared one trait. They never let their face announce their next move before they made it. Emotional leakage is a confession. Every flinch, every visible panic, hands your opponent the exact map to your weaknesses, free of charge. He advised rulers to appear calm even mid-crisis, because panic is contagious, and so is composure. Choose which one you're spreading. Pause before reacting. That small gap between the insult and your response is where all real power actually lives. React instantly, and you've let someone else write your next chapter for you. Rejection, criticism, betrayal, none of it is proof of your worth. It's simply information about someone else's interests, nothing more. A ruler who can be provoked into chaos has already been conquered. He just hasn't noticed yet. Chapter 8. Speak less, rule more. Machiavelli's most feared princes were rarely the loudest men in the room. Often they were the quietest, and that silence terrified everyone more. He observed something the desperate never learn. Words spent carelessly lose all their currency. A ruler who explains himself constantly is a ruler asking permission to exist. Silence unsettles people. It makes them fill the gap with their own anxiety, their own assumptions, and eventually their own respect for you. Speak with intention, or don't speak at all. Every unnecessary sentence is a coin thrown carelessly into the street. The prince who remains slightly unreadable is never fully underestimated by his rivals. Chapter 9. Build a court that needs no one's blessing. Machiavelli warned that a prince who rules only to be adored will eventually rule nothing at all, because adoration is conditional and alignment is not. Build your kingdom on your own values, not the shifting approval ratings of a fickle public that will forget you by next season. Fortune shifts constantly, but a ruler anchored in his own principles survives every single shift. Define what you actually want, not what looks impressive to the court. Once your values are fixed, you stop needing 1,000 small permissions just to make one decision. Chapter 10. Ration your presence like a resource. Machiavelli knew that a prince seen everywhere is respected nowhere. Overexposure is its own kind of collapse. Scarcity is strategy, not cruelty. Distribute your attention like a general distributes troops with purpose. Never carelessly, never out of guilt. What is always available is never treasured. What is rarely given is never forgotten. Chapter 11. Choose your court carefully. Machiavelli believed a ruler is known and judged by the counselors he keeps closest. Your circle is your court. Weak advisors produce weak decisions, slowly, quietly, until it's too late to notice. Surround yourself with those who raise the bar, or watch your own bar sink to meet theirs without your permission. You do not rise above your court. Eventually, you become it. Chapter 12. Become dangerously competent. Machiavelli respected vert above all raw, demonstrated capability, never merely claimed status or borrowed titles. Confidence without skill collapses under the first real test it faces. Build the skill first. Let your results speak the only language your rivals actually understand. A prince who must announce his own greatness has already lost the argument before it started. Chapter 13. Abandon what no longer serves the throne. Machiavelli never romanticized loyalty to a sinking alliance, no matter how long the history behind it. If a relationship, a role, or a room no longer values your presence, staying is not virtue. It's slow decay dressed up as patience. Walking away from a losing position is strategy, not weakness, and Machiavelli never confused the two. He watched allies cling to failing alliances out of nostalgia, hoping loyalty alone would resurrect something already dead. It never worked. The alliance still collapsed. The only difference was how much dignity was left standing when it finally did. Leave earlier. Leave with clarity instead of resentment. A prince who exits on his own timing is remembered as strategic. A prince dragged out kicking is remembered as desperate. History, and every room you'll ever enter, only remembers one of those two versions of you. Chapter 14. Become the prize the court cannot ignore. Machiavelli never chased Florence's court after his exile. Instead, he wrote until the court had no choice but to come looking for him. Stop pursuing rooms that don't value you. Build something so undeniable that rooms are forced to pursue you instead. This is the final law. Value is never announced. It is demonstrated until denial becomes physically impossible. Before we close, if this hits something in you, that's not an accident. Machiavelli's ideas survived 500 years because they describe human nature with brutal, uncomfortable accuracy, and most people are too afraid to say it out loud. If you want more of this real strategy, real psychology, no fluff, no fake positivity, hit subscribe right now before you forget. Drop a comment with the chapter that hit you hardest, because I read every single one. And if this video is playing right now while you needed to hear it, smash that like button so the algorithm knows to put this in front of someone else who needs it too. This channel exists for people done being cheap, people done explaining themselves to rooms that never deserved the explanation. If that's you, you're already in the right place. Closing. Machiavelli didn't teach cruelty. He taught clarity. He taught that the world does not reward the kindest heart in the room. It rewards the mind that refuses to be cheap, the one that guards its gates while everyone else leaves theirs wide open. So stop negotiating your worth in every conversation. Stop explaining your existence to people who never earned the explanation in the first place. Build the fortress. Guard the gate. Let the ones who deserve you earn you. Because the prince who truly understands his own value was never chosen. He was simply obeyed. 500 years later, the courts have changed. The crowns are gone. But the psychology Machiavelli mapped out in exile, alone, with nothing left to lose, still governs every room you'll ever walk into. The only question left is, which role you're going to play in it, the one begging at the gate, or the one who owns it?